Hello, my name is StingsVolgin, and this is going to be a review of my thoughts and opinions on 10 Million. 10 Million is a hybrid RPG action puzzle game developed by EightyEightGames. 10 Million was first released as an iOS game for £1.49 or $1.99. It's now been ported over to PC and is currently available on Steam at 20% off for £3.19, $4.99, €4.99 or your regional equivalent. The premise of 10 Million is that you're stuck in a prison, and to gain your freedom you need to earn 10 million points in a dungeon run. When you start the game, you're given a bed, 6 rooms in need of repair, a door leading to impending doom, or more precisely, leading to a dungeon run, where you must defeat enemies, loot chests, gain resources, and of course run for as long as you possibly can before you meet your temporary demise. In order to do this, you simply need to match corresponding tiles. For example, the red staff tiles perform magic attacks when matched. When you match the blue sword tiles, you perform a physical attack. Matching up green key tiles will unlock a single lock on a chest or door. Matching the teal shield tiles will add to your shield counter, which will protect you against enemy damage. Matching up the grey rock tiles or the orange-brown wood tiles will provide you with resources, and matching up the pink backpacks has a potential to provide you with gold or consumable items. Consumable items can also be dropped from enemies or dropped in chests. As expected, when you match more than 3 of a certain type of tile, the effectiveness of it is increased, so you may do double damage, be given more resources, or something similar. Consumables consist of skeleton keys, which will open up to 2 locks in a single use, weapons such as axes which do physical damage to enemies, magical orbs which do magical damage to enemies, and food items which extends the time you have before your death. If you match the damage or key tiles under a context where they aren't suitable, your character won't perform the corresponding move, meaning that they have the potential to go to waste if you collect resources and then tiles that you don't want to use end up collapsing together. So, your goal is to run as far as you can into the dungeon, rack up as many points as you possibly can, and complete objectives before you die. You meet your death when your character hits the left side of the screen where the grey skull is shown, and your character gets closer to the skull when he's standing still or when he's hit by enemies. Damage from enemies can be protected against by collecting shield points from the shield tiles. Shields won't stop you from being pushed to the left side by standing still, however, so it is important to keep moving. You progressively make your way towards the right side of the screen when you're moving, or by consuming food items. When you make it all the way to the right side of the screen, the dungeon doesn't end, but you do earn bonus points. Objectives consist of goals such as earning a certain amount of resources in a single run, using certain consumables, matching a certain number of tiles together, killing enemies in a certain way, or other similar types of objectives. Completing objectives rewards you with resources, and is required to progress to a new dungeon. 3 objectives are shown at a time, and when one is completed it's replaced by a new one. When enough objectives are completed, you'll receive a rank objective, usually requiring you to earn a certain number of points. Once you do this, you gain a new rank and unlock a new dungeon. Each new dungeon has new objectives, new enemies, and higher score and resource multipliers than the last. One small issue that I have with the objective system is that when you finish a run after completing an objective, you're forced to go back to the prison, whereas on runs where you haven't completed an objective, you can start a new run by clicking a button. It's not a huge issue, but it is somewhat inconvenient. When you go back to the prison, to start with you need to construct various rooms. These rooms are rank locked. Once you reach the rank needed for a certain room, it can be constructed using wood and stone. These rooms allow you to upgrade certain aspects of your equipment and character. The rooms available are the Staff Maker to upgrade magic damage, the Blacksmith to upgrade physical damage, the Trainer to give you general upgrades such as time bonuses upon certain actions, added resource gain, or higher critical attack chance. The Shield Maker allows you to upgrade the number of shield points that you get from a single match, and the maximum number of shield points. The Armourer allows you to upgrade armour, adds damage reduction and enemy attack delay, and finally, there's the Alchemist, which allows you to choose trade-off type potions. These potions will give you a certain benefit, but will also have a negative impact while active. For example, the Gambler's Brew gives you increased critical hit chance, but reduces your normal attack damage. Multiple potions can be active at the same time, and new potions are unlocked upon achieving certain ranks. The rooms available to you can be upgraded with wood and stone, allowing for more upgrades, and the game continues like this until you complete it. You run dungeons, gain resources, get upgrades to increase the chance of luck being in your favour, and continue like this until you complete the game. And that's what the game has to offer. Now it's time to talk about what I think of the game. During my first hour or 2 of play, I found the game to be incredibly compelling. I was doing run after run and having a lot of fun with it. Getting large clusters of tiles to be matched in a single move was very satisfying, and the nature of progression and upgrading is really enjoyable. However, it soon becomes apparent that the game lacks the depth that it appears to have when you gaze upon its surface. You start the game by trying to use skill and logic to get as far as you possibly can into the dungeon, it starts to dawn on you how much the game really does rely on luck. This isn't to say the nature of matching tiles is luck-based. Obviously, it requires good spatial awareness and quick thinking, which is obviously a skill. However, in this context, you don't have the time you really need to come up with good tactics and to think about your next move. When it comes down to it, it's clear that your best bet truly is to wildly match as many tiles as you possibly can. Each time you do this, there's a chance that a tile cascade will occur. Often, when this happens, there's a very good chance that you'll get past any obstacle in your way. All you really have to do to complete the game is continue to match as many tiles as you can, take the resources you gain from doing it, upgrade your character and equipment, then rinse and repeat. Completing objectives sometimes requires a certain amount of awareness to find the right opportunity to complete them, but the majority are completed in the process of the Wild Matchfest. Upon this discovery, what 10 million comes down to is a time sink, a relatively satisfying time sink. But it lacks the depth and skill ceiling that those looking for a more fulfilling gaming experience would likely be looking for. It's probably not far off to say that a lot of PC gamers would be more likely to enjoy the latter than they would a shallow, albeit somewhat enjoyable, and occasionally satisfying game. And that's the issue many iOS to PC ports have. This particular game doesn't suffer from input issues like many other ports do, although it does lack a decent options menu. But it is easy enough to get past that since a game with such a simple aesthetic and input, the input being mouse only, doesn't require much customization, but naturally, the inclusion of a more comprehensive menu to a PC port is always a plus. What it does suffer from, however, is the available competition, the context of playing a PC game, and the audience. Generally speaking, iOS games are there for when you're sitting in the car as a passenger and want some cheap entertainment to make time go by a little faster, when you're laying in bed waiting for tiredness to kick in, or, let's face it, when you're sitting on the shitter. And in that context, this is a great game, and it does provide a good bit of entertainment, and obviously the price is a lot lower on iOS, which is always a plus. Why it's necessary to charge more for iOS ports on PC, I really don't know, but it is a seemingly common practice, and it's almost always charging extra, despite almost no difference in what you're being given as a product whatsoever. The point here is that if you were to play this game in short play sessions here and there, or you're looking for a shallow game with a low skill ceiling to sink time into, and you aren't looking for a huge amount of depth in your purchase, then you'll probably be satisfied. As a PC game, if you want the same thing, then sure, you'll be satisfied, particularly for its low price. However, for me, and I'm sure for many others, there are far more fulfilling experiences available on PC. And with this particular title, the reliance on luck will get a little bit grinding. I always find that luck in a single player game doesn't lead to a particularly enjoyable experience. Luck can be enjoying, but usually in a multiplayer environment. Because whether you like to admit it or not, people love schadenfreude. Bad luck and misfortune when you're playing games with friends or family is funny, and that's fine. But when you're playing a video game alone, nobody gets anything out of bad luck, and that's the problem this game has. To quickly go over the aesthetics and sound assets, I feel like the retro 8-bit style is incredibly uninspired, and it's used for the sake of cost effectiveness. Now, this isn't to say that retro-themed games are always uninspired. It's very possible to take the vibe of a retro game and still create a great aesthetic, but when you're limiting yourself so much with an 8-bit style, it's easy, but you'll be hard-pushed to create something visually appealing. Perhaps for some, it's a nostalgia of the style, but it does nothing for me. A more uniquely stylized and more polished aesthetic would have added to this game nicely, but it's understandable for an indie dev without much money to choose to go with this particular aesthetic, and some people are fond of it, so I suppose it is what it is. The chiptune soundtrack, however, is simple and catchy, but unfortunately it's just limited to a few tracks. All other sound assets are very simple, and are in the vein of the aesthetic, and thus my opinion on it more or less stands the same as it does with the aesthetic. So, I'm sure by now I've provided you with enough information to give you an idea of if this game is for you. Just to reiterate, this isn't by any means a bad game. I had fun with it for a couple of hours, and for the price, I'm okay with that. Maybe every now and then, I'll actually be in the mood for a relatively compelling tile matching experience with enjoyable progression, but as a package and as something I'd sit down and get into, it definitely wouldn't suffice. And as I said earlier, I feel like the game is infinitely more suitable for iOS, and a lot cheaper, which is always a plus. Would I recommend checking the game out on iOS? Definitely. On PC? It depends on what you're looking for, but it's probably not quite for me, and more than likely not quite for many others. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you did, please do help me out by liking the video, or maybe leaving a comment letting me know what you think. If you have any feedback, do let me know, but make it constructive. If you have an opinion on the video, let me know why, otherwise I won't be able to make use of it to make the videos in the future better. And finally, I just want to apologise for any mistakes in the video. It was likely that I was talking too fast at certain points, or stumbling over words and that kind of thing. That's simply because I'm not really used to doing these more kind of formal types of videos, and it's simply not something I'm used to, meaning that for a while, until I get used to it, I'm likely to be making mistakes. Unlike my other videos, I'm actually kind of reading off the screen because I've written this review beforehand and I'm, reading it as a voiceover. So that's kind of difficult and it's new to me. So yeah, I apologise for any mistakes. But do let me know what you think, and if you guys do like this sort of format, I will of course be bringing you more in the future. Other than that, I have been StingsVolgin, this has been 10 Million by 88 Games, and I will see you next time.